let's hop into today's session. What we're going to go is over your skill assessment, and we're just going
Mhm.
to check out your strengths and weaknesses, what you feel you need
Yeah.
to work on. So before we get started on that, what is, if you could say your goal for this year, what is something that you're looking to see over this time, to see the most amount of growth for yourself?
Um, there's a few things, Adam, but I think obviously lyric and melody,
Cool.
because before, as you know, I was just a beat maker. And then in your sessions, you're like, do you want to be a producer or a beat maker? And I'm like, all right, producer. So pretty much is becoming better at lyric and melody. One thing I feel like I'm really bad in right now is when I bring people to my house to record, I really don't know what I'm doing. Like someone can send me like a vocal and I can comp it to where it sounds decent or really good. Not at an expert level, but like decent. But the recording part of like having someone in my like apartment and recording, I'm like super lost on that. I'll be completely honest with you.
Okay, so it's really the tracking side of things. All right, well, we can work on that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so lyric and melody,
Mhm.
tracking. Okay,
Yeah.
anything else that you're?
And to be honest with you, the biggest thing I'm super excited about him is the marketing part.
Yeah,
That to me, it's like number
yeah,
one to be complete. If I'm like super being transparent and honest with
yeah,
you, like I'm all for the executives and stuff. Like I
yeah.
understand, but I know that with them it's a bit of a gamble.
Yep.
In my opinion, I might be wrong. You can correct me on that. But
Yeah.
like I'm more of like I need to start my own business and I want
Yep.
to understand how to do this
Perfect.
because
Okay.
executives are the cherry on top for me.
Yep. Okay. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to just throw this out there because you said this. You said to be honest, number one is marketing for me.
Mhm.
Um, I have to make it so clear that number one has to be the music. That no amount of marketing for you, if you're trying to be an artist or a producer or a DJ,
Mhm.
no amount of marketing is going to change the fact if your product isn't excellent.
Okay.
The product has to be beyond excellent for the marketing
Mhm.
to even make sense. You can go out there and market all you want, but at the end of the day,
Mhm.
when it comes to music, it's such a competitive space that if the
Mhm.
music is at like a B level, that's not going to make you income. That's not going to make you impact. That's not going to push the needle forward.
Okay.
The music has to be the same resonation of the people you look up to.
Mhm.
That there's no one in your world that you could ever been like, hey, that artist that I did not know is now impacting my life, and you go, but they're not as good as the other artists I really like.
Mhm.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't exist. It has to be when people hear your music, they react the same way they would react if they heard Avicii, if they heard Zed, if they heard Kygo, if they heard any other DJ that you would say, I respect that DJ. When people who don't know you react, it has to be the same exact point as the people that you consider your musical like aspirations.
Okay.
Okay. And the only reason I'm saying that is because if you downplay it and you're like, my main thing is marketing, and you're like, yeah, but if your main thing is not lyric, melody, production, final mix, forget about the executives for a second. If it's not those things, then what's happening, you're just gonna get really excited about marketing stuff, and then you're gonna be marketing products that are good but not excellent.
Gotcha.
Okay. That being said, when you
Yes.
market excellent products,
Yeah.
like excellent music, and you understand how to brand on top of that, well, now we're talking about the whole reason why we're doing breakthrough.
Correct. Okay.
Okay. So those two have to converge. Now,
Thanks for that shift in mindset. Appreciate that.
oh no, my pleasure, man. Because listen,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of people who didn't want to do the full year of breakthrough. They just would hit me up and say, this looks really cool, but I just want to focus on the marketing. And I would say, all right, well, that's not really how we're structured. I mean, in theory, I could create a course around just the marketing, just the AI, just all this wild stuff that
Mhm.
we put together because it's the best in the market. I know that already. We've already tested
Mhm.
it. We've had plenty of results. So in theory, I could do this for you. And they're like, yeah, because this is the amount of budget I have and blah, blah. And I'm like, and I thought about it for a second. And the people who've asked me, I said, send me your music. And they all had really good music. And so at the end of the day, I was like, to be honest, we could do this thing, but it's not going to help you. It might get you more fans, but it's not going to turn you into breaking through into the industry. So if you have 5,000 fans now, we can help you get 20,000 fans, but they're all going to be lukewarm fans because your music is still lukewarm.
Mhm.
It sounds good, but if I was to put you next to your musical peers or musical rivals, you're nowhere near them. And
Mhm.
it's evident.
Mhm.
And so the point that I was trying to help them say is like, listen, let's spend the time working with Grammy Award winners so you can actually get your music up the level of the same people that they work with on a daily basis. They're going to help you get to that level, and then the marketing will just push it so far.
Yeah.
So for instance, like in this case, some of the artists, they were kind of telling me who they would like. They're like, oh, if I would be on tour, I'd be on tour with this person. And I'm like, yeah, you're not musically ready for that right now. So you want
Mhm.
me to give you like a steroid shot to become bigger, but your body frame can't even hold the muscle. It doesn't make sense. And I understand it because a lot of people are at the point where just like, there's like, if I just have more people who know me, that will help me to build a business. And that's just not true on the internet. I have people who are mentees who, especially back in the day, when they'd come and meet me and they'd already have 500,000 followers because they were on American Idol or The Voice or X
Mhm.
Factor, and they weren't making money.
Mhm.
So I'm like, you can have 500,000 people know your name. It doesn't mean you're making money. And every single person I worked with that, they all were so good at being on the shows. But when you said, well, let me hear your original music, the original music was just good. It wasn't stellar. It wasn't at the same level. Their voice was great, but their
Yeah.
music, their actual songs, the songwriting, it all was like a little bit subpar to their voice. And so they thought I was on a show, I have all this attention, I have fans, so I should be making money. And I'm looking at them going, well, are you? And they're like, no. And I go, because your product isn't good enough yet.
Mhm.
So they're trying to skip the step. They try to go right for promotion. They try to go right for massive markets, but
Mhm.
forgetting, like, imagine this. Imagine if I went to like the biggest platform in the world and was like, I'm here. I got this product that everyone should want. I got 500,000 people looking at me. And they're like, sure, show me your product. And I show it to them. And everyone's like, yeah, it's cool. And I'm like, don't you want to pay me now that I'm in front of everyone? And the fans are like,
Uh,
well, I mean, I
uh,
I only want to pay you if it's as good as the music I already love. And that's how fans think about music.
no,
You know,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
right? Because
I
like
love I love how you do this like visual stories. It's funny because it's true.
it's true.
You're
It,
like, yeah.
like, look at me, I'm on top of a mountain,
Yeah.
500,000 people. Are you all looking right now? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, I'm going to show you something you're going to want to buy. And they're like, give it to us. And they're like, here it is. And then some people are like, oh, that's nice.
Uh,
And then you're like, are you willing to pay for it? And here's the wild thing about fans. It's so important people realize this. If we sold ketchup packets, if I sold 1,000,000 ketchup packets that are only used one time and they only squirt for 3 seconds, we would make more money selling ketchup packets. If I had 1,000,000 people listen to my song or 1,000,000 ketchup packets, we'd make more money selling ketchup packets. So basically what we're saying is we're on top of a mountain and we just have to show you something that's worth more than a ketchup packet. And fans are like, no, it's got to be great for me to want to buy it. It's got to be great for me to want to buy it. And I think when that's understood of, oh, I have to go to become the version of myself that if the younger version of me saw it, I'd become a fan of me.
Mhm,
Not I'd support me. I'd become
mhm,
a fan of me.
mhm,
And when that thing's clear, the branding falls in line, your mission falls in line, your music falls in line, your friendship circles change, the people you attract change. The whole game changes when that's a very clear and
mhm,
definable goal rather
mhm.
than a hope to happen along the way. Make sense?
100%, Adam.
Cool.
Thank
All
you.
right, awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for that again. Thanks for that shift in mindset. Yeah, it's true.
Okay, cool.
We're good.
All right, so
Thanks.
let's read over your skill assessment.
Mhm.
And we'll see.
Be as transparent with
Of
me.
course,
It is what it is.
of
I
course.
already had classes with you. I know. Just go for it. Don't hold back, please.
Of course, man. No, listen, just so
Yeah.
you're aware, every single thing for this, and the reason why I love it being so personalized is what we're going to design is a plan for you to
Mhm.
get you to the place of where even things you don't even aren't aware you're not knowing or where you're not seeing, we're going to put those like pieces into place.
Mhm.
So there's definitely no holding back. This is the year to make
Awesome.
something as big as we can for you. Okay.
Mhm.
All
Cool,
right.
cool.
All right. The 5 songs which are yours. Mi gente, vente pa acá, lean on. Okay, cool. My universe, great. Midnight City. Okay, cool. Very cool. Right.
It's funny because none of them are like hardcore electronic dance music, which is what I usually like.
It is
That was
interesting.
the hardest question out of the whole thing.
So why do you think?
That's the thing, Adam. I'm a bit confused. Like, I remember one time we had a session or we had like a one-on-one, and then you said you could either be like the guy that's just really good at dance music, like really, really good at dance music, or be somebody that's just kind of like does everything.
Yeah.
Like I love dance music, don't get me wrong, that's like my heart.
Yeah.
But like I just hear so much music in my head that it's
Okay.
so hard for me. Like for instance, Latin music, electronic, usually more Latin and electronic
Okay.
is what I feel like it's a big, big potential. And it's in my roots. It's like I really feel
Yeah.
that music, but I also love Coldplay.
Are you making any Latin electronic music?
I'm starting to, but it's
Okay.
nothing, it's not like something that I'm actively doing. One of the reasons is like I want to get singers that speak Spanish, and unfortunately, I live like in Denver, and it's really hard to find people here in person. I know you
Yeah.
can probably find people online, but I just haven't gotten there yet.
But let me ask a question though. What does the
Yeah.
singers have to do with you making the music?
I think I'm thinking about the finished product, and I'm like holding myself back now that you asked me that question.
Oh, okay. Because to
Yeah.
make the music, it's really about just you in a room making things that you enjoy.
Yeah, it's just probably me, Adam, to be honest. It's me holding me back. I think that's what it is.
Well, here's the thing, is you're saying it's just probably, and I want to help you come to absolutes because like
Yeah.
here's the thing, is the story that you tell yourself
Hmm.
is what you believe and how you act in alignment with. So whenever I'm sort of curious about something, I always ask you like, oh, well, why is that?
Hmm.
When you say, I like dance music, but all the songs I gave you aren't dance songs. I'm like, okay. And then because what I have to do is help you find who you really are, not who you're
Hmm.
trying to be, but like who you really are. And so when I ask someone like, okay, well, here are the 5 songs that you wish you wrote, but none of them are dance songs, and you're like, oh, because I have so much music in my head, and I want to infuse, Latin. I hear Latin music, I hear EDM. I'm like, all right, well, have you tried putting the two together? And you're like, no. And I'm like, well, why haven't you just sat down for 30 minutes in a day and made a four on the floor beat with the Latin guitar? Like, why is that hadn't even happened? He said, because I can't find singers. And you're like, but there's singers all around you. There's a whole club full of singers and there's a bunch that sing Latin and that are good. And then so like I'm chasing your
Hmm.
tail here, but it's not making sense to me.
Okay.
So here now you hear me following it. Okay.
Yeah. I'm confused myself.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what are you confused about?
I'm like I said, I've been doing the dance music for so long. Like I said, I love it. I really do. But I also like other things. Like I love Latin music as well. Like I did this the other day, and I said that I'm like, all right, Sebastian, like, what do you really want to make? And I started listening to a bunch of music, and I felt like connected to all the freaking music. So I'm like, crap. All right, like I love EDM or whatever, dance pop, Tiesto stuff. But I also love like J Balvin, like Maluma, like all that, just because I see how it makes people react. Like I've been studying a lot of dance floors, and I'm looking at how people react with different music, and it's a
Mhm.
completely different
Yeah.
dynamic when you hear it. And it could be EDM Latin, it could be just Latin, it could be just dance music, and I'm starting to understand that energy that certain songs have in the
Yeah.
dance floor, and I
Yes.
just see everybody just go crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so, and I it kind of like messed with my mind because I'm like, all right, what do I do now? Like they're all different songs, they're all different genres, and they all make people go crazy,
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I love all that music too. I mean, that's the reason why I was playing when I'm DJing, I'm playing this music live and I'm seeing people react. And I'm
Yeah.
like, shit, what do I do now? I was so focused on
Interesting.
making just EDM, like Kygo type stuff. But then now that I go on the dance floor and I'm DJing and I'm seeing people move to different songs, and I'm like, this is awesome too. So
Gotcha. Okay.
it kind of put me like in this, kind of
Yeah.
broke my entire thing down when I started DJing live in front of people and like, doing shows.
Well, I think
Um,
here's an important distinction.
mhm.
So I think it's important depending on what you're looking to do. And this is a personal thing, what I'm going to say,
Yeah.
because everyone's different. If you're trying to develop a brand, you have to find a sound, and that
Mhm.
has to be the thing.
Mhm.
Like even though these other things might pull you, like, oh, that's cool there, how the people react. There's a certain level of like, yeah, but I can't just chase every time a person reacts. I have to
Okay.
chase what makes me react. because there's going to be another person for that sound. There's always going to be someone who likes that thing. And if you're chasing how people react, I can understand that's more of a DJ thing, because you have to follow the vibe in the room, and like, oh, can I make people put their hands up right now? Can I make people slow down? Can I make people pick it up? So those are things that I understand as a DJ point. But as a creator, like if I'm Kygo, I have to make Kygo sounds.
Mm,
If I'm Zed, I'm making Zed songs. If I'm Skrillex, I'm making Skrillex songs. If
mhm.
I'm Martin Garrix, I'm making Martin Garrix songs. I'm not making every different genre just because one's I like today and one I like tomorrow. I can't do that.
Okay.
So, and the reason why I say I can't do that is I can if I don't care about a sonic identity that fans know me for. And I'm just
Mhm.
kind of like a producer, an artist, and I'm not really like defined. Yeah, you can do that. And there's people who do that through different eras, like Diplo, for instance. Diplo has so many different sounds, so many different projects that you're like, he's just known as a really great producer, DJ. The thing about though Diplo, I would say, is that he kind of has a project he's working on, and that project has a sound.
Yeah, I've realized that. It's like a
Okay.
style and a sound like with Major Lazer and then his own Diplo
There
and
you
then
go.
like,
Though, but they
whatever.
exactly
Hmm.
those all have their own sonic identity.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important that you, for a second, ask yourself what is at your highest level of excitement and follow that. And it can't be chasing people though.
Okay.
It's got to be highest level excitement for myself. Because
Hmm.
if you're always chasing people, then your sound's going to change whenever people change. And that's way too hard to hold on to.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right, so let's see. Okay, artists you like to produce with. Okay, cool. I see that. Max Martin, Alesso, Coldplates. Yes, okay, great. Okay, so vocal comping, you need help on, vocal editing, vocal tuning, vocal harmonies. Okay, you got compression, you got EQ, you got effects, you got templates. All right, let me ask you about templates and effects. Uh, what DAW do you use?
Logic.
Logic. Okay. If I was working with you in the studio right now and I said, "Oh, that's a really cool kick drum," but in the verse, I think it'd be better if we had it we had the high end cut off and it was like a um uh a low pass filter. And in one button, could that pop up? Or do you have to go and find the filter, find the EQ, roll off the high end, click some buttons?
That the last part. I would have to go into the EQ and move it automatic or move it to where I would think the sound would make sense or
Okay.
what the feeling. Yeah.
So I want you to macro all the things that are like that.
Okay.
All the things that you most likely would use in production, which could
Okay.
be a high pass filter, a low pass filter, a reverb with a certain like level that you like when it comes on certain instruments. You might already know like when I use this reverb and I put it at 10%, it always sounds good. I might nudge it a little bit,
Mhm.
but I'm always starting with this reverb, this sort of tail. It's kind of like my basics.
Mhm.
Um, if it's a trying to think what else. Like if it's an instruments that you're like, I always use this kind of instrument, they should be preset and they should be on one button if you can.
When you say one button, what do you mean by that?
So a
Just
macro.
you just press like a like command
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. You
Mm,
can get different things for it. You can actually macro your keyboard, but you can also get something like a stream deck if you want.
yeah.
Or I'm sure there's probably something else that's like a workaround. But
Mhm.
the main goal is that you have them macroed.
I can already have like a template where I
Okay,
already
great.
selected all the synths and the instruments that I like. So when I
Great.
open my template, like almost all of this is already made. The
Great.
only thing I didn't do though, which I think I don't know, I didn't think about doing this was like let's say so sometimes in the kick drum you want to roll off all the anything under 40
Yep.
because for the most part you
Yes.
don't really need it.
Yeah.
I always have to go there and do it myself instead of
Cool.
having it already set up.
All
That's
right,
kind of
great.
the only thing I
So,
think about
so
that.
things like that,
Little
kind of
things, yeah,
running
nuance.
through. It's everything that you can go. I use that pretty much in every session or every other session. And whenever I have to do it, I have to go click and make at least, and think of it like this. I have to do at least 3 clicks. I have to go over and find it. I have to click on it. And then I have to minimum click on if it's a preset or if it's a settings that I have to do in live. But if it's more than 3 clicks, I want that to get down to a macro.
Okay.
That's just the easiest way to do it.
Mhm.
The goal is like everything that you might use that's on that we have set up.
Mhm.
If it's snares, hi-hats, like have your own snare sampler kit, have your own kick sampler kit, have your own hi-hat one. Um, if you have one shots that you like a lot, but
Mhm.
fill it up, you know, because it should be one of those things like if I come into work with you and I'm into your studio and we're coming up with an idea, you can just be like, boom, kicks are up, and you're like, do, 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 you find the right one. Do, do,
Mhm.
do, do, do. Okay, cool. Now you sort of tune it. Do, 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 do. Okay, that's the right one we're gonna use today. Okay, cool. And like when we find a snare, hold on, sample it, boom, snap, tap, 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 tap. It should feel like that
Okay.
rather than going over to splice and then you're going into a folder and you're looking for something and you're playing a track and you're going through and finding it. It should be already on your finger and you're playing.
Okay.
And so all these things that we're doing are basically just taking everything that might be a step or two or three outside of you and we're putting it
Mhm.
inside of you.
Okay.
And what this is going to do is this is going to create a level of creative workflow because you'll always be in the flow state.
Mhm.
Whenever you have to click, you are using a mental process. We want to remove mental processes as much as possible because in order for you to stay in the flow state, you want to be in a like a channeling mode. So the
Mhm.
best way to get to that is to remove processes that are mental and go right into one button, it's open, we're playing.
Mhm.
Well, the playing mode is where you're gonna have the most amount of fun. That's where you want to stay the most because that's where the most
Mhm.
creativity has a chance to come through.
Mhm.
The stuff that's really tedious is the stuff that people get tired of. They're like, oh, I had to go through all these samples and I was searching for hours and I got tired and I lost the idea. The amount of people I've talked to who've lost ideas or they've taken 3 weeks to finish a song, all because they didn't organize all this stuff and front load it in the beginning. It's just like a backwards process. They don't
Mhm.
have to go through that. It's just what they
Yeah.
were doing, probably because they didn't have someone like mentor to help them to be like, no, no, no.
Yeah, that
Hey,
was me until I met you, Adam.
okay.
Pretty
It's
much.
like, no, take 2 weeks, get all the sounds you
For
need
eight, for like
for
eight
the rest of
years,
the
that's what I
year.
did. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All
You
right,
know
fair
it very
enough, fair
well.
enough, fair enough.
I was like,
Well,
why
that's
am I
good.
taking so long? You tell me that. I had to track down with like 3 days. I went from like a month to like 3 days, and I'm like,
And you just think about it all the time, you go, wait, so if I was doing it once a month, that means I can only do 12 songs a year or
yeah.
3 days, which means I can do 2 songs a week. That's 100 songs a year. 12 songs a year, 100 songs a year. Just from doing some of these things, right?
No, yeah, 100%. 100%.
Okay, cool. So, all right, so that will be next, where you get everything onto their own sampler. What I have, I'll just tell you, is I have kick, snare, hi-hats, I have toms, I have like cymbals, like crashes, one shots, I have reverses, because reverses
Mhm.
could be cymbals, reverses could be like different sounds, you know, that sort of
Mhm.
thing.
So you have this all in samplers, Adam? Is this what you're
Yeah,
saying? You have this all in samplers? So
yeah,
when
all
you're
in different samplers.
in different samplers, so different channels, different samplers,
Yeah, so
all.
like if I press one button, I have a kick sampler and it has
Mhm.
probably like 30 cool kicks I like in there. And
Mhm.
then if I pull up a snare sampler, same thing, it has like, 15 to 20, 30 snares I like. Um, Everything's just subdivided to their own thing.
Okay.
Make sense? Okay, quick thing on keyboard shortcuts. Do you have one that, let's say, if you were like, oh, this kick drum needs to go a little lower, that you can just press a button and it drops it like 3 dBs?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. You said this in a class a while back, and then I kind of like I press a button and I just move the mouse a little bit, and then it goes down like a dB or whatever, like
What?
right on the thing.
What do you mean? You press a button, it goes that. I'm saying like when you just highlight the track, highlight
Yeah.
the audio file, and you press a button, and it drops 3 dBs.
Yes.
Okay,
Something similar to that. It's like there's a thing on. I mean, maybe this is not right. So I press one button on my keyboard and then I use the mouse and then it just goes down with Logic.
when you say you use the mouse though, that's what I'm
Or like
confused on.
the pad. So like in Logic, I mean maybe able I don't know what you use, but like in Logic, when you press command, it switches back and forth to different like cursors on the mouse.
Okay,
And then so either you have like the cut, whatever you pre-design it as before, either the cut tool, whatever. So when I hit command, it switches it, and then I'm able to either bring the volume down gradually, or just make it all the way down?
Yeah, but I think we're talking about two different things. That's why I'm
I think
asking.
so too.
Okay. Yeah. Because you're real quick to be like, yeah, I
Yeah.
did that. And I'm like, I don't think you did that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying is if you just go to a clip of
Hmm.
audio and you press one button, it drops down 3 dBs. That's the only question I'm asking you.
No.
Okay. That's what you need to do.
Okay. Yeah, just
Um,
press one button now. Okay.
okay. And that's the important thing. You're talking about if you highlight something and then you're dragging, use your mouse again, you're talking about more clicks again.
Okay.
I'm talking about removing clicks.
Hmm.
And so what I mean by that is most of the time, 3 dB averages, unless you get into like heavy mixing where you're like doing just like 1 dB. But 3 dB averages tend to be a kind of a rough point to where if you're like, oh, that needs to come down a little bit, you just hit it one time.
Hmm.
Now some people have 1 dB things and they're just hitting it like this, boom, 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 boom. They could do that too. But my goal is to create something. So if I'm just kind of starting off at this level of saying 3 dBs is what is
Yeah,
used a
yeah.
lot, but in theory, it'd be like, oh, that kick drum needs to come down a little bit. One button.
Hmm.
It drops down 3 dBs. Great. Got it
Hmm.
done. Right. All right. So I want you to do that one. Then I want you to do one that's a repeat macro, meaning if you were to highlight a clip and press one button, it would repeat, let's say 4 times. Now, the reason for that is that if you have an 8-bar section, you only have to press something twice then. It's like boom, boom, and you already got whatever that might be.
Okay.
If it's a kick drum, it's you press it twice, you got 8 kicks then.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Right. Now, the reason
Okay.
why this is really important is because sometimes you're working on stuff and you're like, oh, I know I'm going to need it. So in theory, and we'll be very clear about this, is when you do this, in theory, it's the first sample and you're then doubling it 3 times, which
Hmm.
allows it to be a section of 4.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I
And
know what you're saying.
so that's what I'm
Yeah, I
saying. You'll
spent a
be
lot of time doing it manually, one at a
That's what I
time.
mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's once
Hmm.
again, we're going to try and cut that back. So that way you're just like, doop, doop. Okay, there it is. Here's your 8-bar loop. And you're not sitting there and trying to drag it onto the thing, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste.
Yeah.
That's what people are doing. Once again, if you add all that time up through a whole entire session, you could be spending, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes on just copy and pasting things that you could have done with one click. Right.
Yeah.
So the more you push that time down, the easier stuff gets. And then what happens, you stay in a really quick flow state. Music theory, you're at a 5. Okay, why music theory at a 5?
I don't know, Adam. I feel like five mean not like I need help. I just
Yeah.
feel like, and again, this is a concept. It's a story I'm telling myself, and it could be completely wrong. So please
Yeah,
break
yeah.
it. Um, when I say music theories, like with a lot of the melodies, I have a really hard time coming up with melodies myself.
Okay.
I've realized that it's starting to get better with certain type of like samples that I use. Sometimes I just sit on my computer and I just play like a guitar loop at a
Yeah.
certain BPM and I start hearing like melodies. But
Yeah.
there's times where I absolutely don't hear anything, especially like when I'm collaborating.
Okay.
I can if you like someone can sing a melody to me and I can be like, yo, that's really good.
Okay.
But I cannot like for the love of God, like come up with something. And it bothers the
Okay,
hell
but
out
that's
of
different
me.
from music theory though.
Okay.
Because like and I think it's important that you should be aware of the difference between those two things we're talking about.
Okay.
Like music theory is musical composition and theory behind it. You're talking about coming up with melodies.
Aren't they related?
I mean, relation to something isn't the thing though.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like your last
Hmm.
name is Vega, so you're related to other Vegas, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So that you're in relation to them,
Yeah.
right? But they are not you, you are not
Hmm.
them. So it's not the same thing, right?
Okay.
So music theory is, do you understand music theory? Do you understand what chords fit with what chord progressions are in the same order for each other? 1 4 6 5. What
Yeah, I remember
keys are
those. Hmm.
okay, like what chords can you go to that aren't in the key but actually change the key in a good way? Um, what bass notes go under the root notes? Like
Hmm.
that's music theory. Some people read sheet
Gosh.
music. That would be music
Hmm.
theory.
Hmm.
So when it comes to music theory, though, and think about this, the theory is how music relates to itself in a composition.
Hmm.
Melody is a part of it, but it's just a part. So
Hmm.
my question to you is like, how much theory do you know?
I would probably say now that you put it that way, you gave me those examples. Probably from a scale of, I guess, 1 through 10, I would probably say a 3 or 4 tops. Like I'm
Three
not
being 10 being the
like
highest or
10 being like I'm really good at it.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like a three. Like
Okay, cool.
a lot of it I know is like basic, like scales, pentatonics, all that. I can understand some of that, but you tell me what chord goes good with this one based on what I'm playing. I'm like, I have no idea. Like I know it
Okay.
sounds good, but
Okay, okay.
I
Okay.
can't speak to you in theory language.
Okay. And here's the thing, so there's
Yeah.
some producers that don't. They're just like, I like this. There's a lot of EDM producers I tend to notice who just kind of go, I like this sounds good, this sounds good. And they don't know all the theory in the world. And because they just know what they like, it works well. Um, there's I can only say there's a few of them to me that really stand out. The ones who are really, really good, they understand theory really well. And they're able
Hmm.
to say why these things are working.
Hmm.
Do you understand the number system that we used to do in the club? Like,
Yeah, like
okay,
the top 33 chord progressions, one, four,
okay,
six, five. Yeah, I used to
gotcha,
have them
gotcha.
in my wall. I used to like,
Okay.
yeah.
So do you know all of them a little bit by heart? You at least you have some of them ingested in you.
Yeah. Again, I haven't practiced in a while. I
Okay.
did for a while and then I stopped. So I would
Okay.
say maybe I know a handful. I can't tell you I know them all.
Okay. Okay. So if you look on the
Awesome.
right side, it says music theory essentials.
Yes, I see it now. Music theory
Okay.
essentials.
I want you to do something where, depending on your time, you're
Hmm.
studying maybe like one video, just
Okay.
like studying it, practicing it, studying, practicing it. I mean, depending on your day, obviously, like your own day
Hmm.
is up to you. But I want you to kind of do this whenever you have a free, like 30 minutes and you're practicing in practice mode, and they're just going to practice it. So watch a video for like 15 minutes, practice for like 15 minutes. It's kind of
Okay.
like going to the gym. Yeah, let's stop there as far as your homework because you're gonna take time to build all of your macros.
Hmm.
It's gonna take time for you
Macros.
to get all
Hmm.
of your samplers and all the stuff going in. And then you're gonna at least watch a few of the videos of music theory and practice them before our next session.
Okay.
So we'll stop there. We don't have to go through the whole assessment yet because these other things, we're going to go
Okay.
through each one of these. So the goal here, though, is as we're looking at this assessment, is the things that you're having, trouble with. That's like, let's say, especially now where it's like five, anywhere from 5 to 3. We want to get everything that you have around a 1, 2, or 2.
Okay.
That's the goal. If everything's a 1 to 2, that means you're working at a very high ratio because everything's connected now. So
Hmm.
as we go through each homework, we're going to be basically doing things to push the fives, the fours, and the
Hmm.
threes into the 1 or the 2.
Gotcha. Okay. And just to recap, so the homework is, watch video 15 minutes, practice 15 minutes, follow the excitement, and then the next thing would be the macros for the DAW and the samplers. Make sure everything is good for
Yeah,
the flow state.
anything that you would use more than 3 clicks, try to
More than three
macro it.
clicks, yeah.
Yeah, try to
More than three
macro it.
clicks. Okay. And was there anything else? I'm trying to think. I think that
It was
was
it was just the samplers of all your the
okay.
different
Yeah.
things. So we said kicks, snares,
Hmm.
hi-hats, cymbals, reverse sounds, toms,
Okay.
one shots, like those main things you want them all to be on samplers.
Got you.
You have them all written
So
down?
yep.
Cool.
So macro samplers, kicks, drums, you said. Pretty much like what you're saying, more like a drum kit, right? Like in a
Well, no,
way.
like kicks on their own,
Unless
snares
oh
on
got
their
you, got you.
own.
Okay. So sample got it, got it, got it, got it, got it. Okay.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah, 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 okay, okay, okay.
So then read all them back to me, the samplers.
Okay, so we have one for the kicks, correct? One for the hats, one for the snares, and then you got me there, Adam. Done.
I knew it. I was like, "Do you have written down?" You're like, "Yep, I got them written down." I'm like, I don't think you do." Okay, brother, here we go.
Okay, okay, sorry.
Well, I'm seeing a pattern here, so I'm gonna help you.
Yeah,
And I'm seeing
yeah,
I'm seeing a pattern here. So we have to break that pattern though.
yeah. Okay,
Um, this is interesting. Okay. Because I'm noticing like we're saying this and you're going yes, but it's not completely going onto paper and connecting.
okay,
Okay. Like when we were talking about the macros thing, I said it before about the 3 clicks. We actually went over that several times and you're like, okay, cool. But then when you're reading it back, you're forgetting some of these things that are really important.
okay.
Right. And so for me, when I'm hearing you repeat it back to me, I'm just kind of like taking note and going, okay, yeah, I said the amount of things that to put on the sampler several times, but he only got those 3 things. And then when I said that what the samplers were, and you kind of acted like not in a bad way, but you were like, yeah, 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 the samplers. And then when I said, okay, and you're like kind of like drum kits, right? I'm like, no, this is just the kick. I told you this before, all just the kicks, just the snares. So I'm interested in like why do you feel like those things aren't clicking and then it's like going right to paper like that?
I don't know, Adam. I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't. I all I can think of is like overwhelm, a lot of information
Okay.
coming in, and I'm trying
Okay.
to like soak it all in.
Okay. Okay.
But
That's
this
good.
happens to me at my day job as well. Like,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I think it's a habit from my day job where we're supposed to have so many calls and we're supposed to go so fast that I'm only kind of like picking up things that I think in my mind are important.
Ah.
Kind of like Alex Rome.
Ah.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Ah. Okay.
And yeah.
Good to know. Good to know.
Hmm. Which is not good, but thank you for pointing that out because you're right. Hmm.
Yeah, because what I notice is that for have the biggest amount of growth in anything, you have to be focused on the nuance. And then
You're
when
right.
I
Mhm.
repeat something several times and you're agreeing with me, in my mind, and this is with everyone, I'm kind of learning their
Yeah,
process. And that's why I have to learn your process of learning. That's the reason I'm
for
asking you the
sure.
questions.
Yeah,
Because I'm
yeah.
like, oh, he's learning by picking up maybe the bigger concepts, but maybe he's not thinking that the smaller concept is as important. And so
Hmm.
because of that, he's gonna get like some meat, but he's not gonna get all of the muscle. And we need to
Hmm.
make sure he's getting the muscle. So that's the reason why I'm repeating these things. Okay. So what I would say it's really important is that you write down exactly what is said. And that's going to help you tremendously. And maybe even possibly like if it helps you more, if you're like, hey, Adam, sometimes I write things slower. It's like at the end of these videos, try to get the AI transcription of the
Hmm.
videos and then get a breakdown of them. And you literally can go to ChatGPT and like, here's a transcript. What's the homework?
Just to clarify that. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm. Great. Do you have any
Thank you so much.
questions? So just so you know, oh, my
Hmm.
pleasure, man. This is gonna be great. The when you set up your next session, have these things already done. So how the flow of it's gonna be is we're gonna go over your homework. So we'll go
Hmm.
through it all. You'll show me what you put together, what you looked at, what you learned. The first like 15 minutes will be that. The next 15 minutes will be us looking over your assessment chart and then finding another piece of homework, and then
Hmm.
talking it out like this. And the goal is to be like very like systemized where we come in and we're like,
Hmm.
okay, looking over homework, we're looking at assessment, we're answering
Hmm.
questions. So that way, you know, every time you come in, like if I have a question for Adam, write it down. Like this is what I'm gonna be
Hmm.
covering.
Okay,
And what you'll see is usually by the end of the first month, you're gonna start to get in this workflow where you're like, okay, I'm learning this. I had a little question on that. I'll bring that to Adam. Let me write it down right here and save it.
hmm.
I got stuck here. Let me write that down. So I'm not coming here and I'm like, hey, you have any questions? You're like, and sometimes people will
Okay,
come in, they'll have 10 questions because they didn't know all the things they're running into, and we can really address them for their
for
next
sure.
next time.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna have some questions with the
Yeah.
macro and sampler, especially. Thank you for pointing out that pattern, though. I think that was a good takeaway here, because I do this in my day job because of the how fast we have to move, like with calls. And I'm realizing that yes, it's important to focus on the big things, but also the nuances, the devil's in the details.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. That was a really good catch because I was not aware of that. Sounds good.
Cool. Awesome, man. All right,
Nice.
brother. Well, I will see you at the next one.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Adam. Hope
Of
you have a good
course,
weekend,
brother.
okay?
You too,
Bye-bye.
man. Take care.
Take care.